This is our 8th episode of Unforgotten. I'm talking with a couple members of the men's tennis team here, Tristan McCormick and Richard Ciamarra. Guys, thanks for joining me and doing this. Before we get started, I just want to check in with both of you. And why don't you tell me where you're calling me today from and how the last couple of months have been going. And let's start with you, Tristan.
So I'm currently in Naples, Florida. From Philadelphia, but my parents are retiring down here. They have a small place here. So when quarantine started, I was like, I'd rather be in Florida than Philadelphia. So I ran to the heat and the sun. But yeah, no, I mean, even though I'm in Florida, it's definitely been pretty monotonous. Haven't been able to take advantage of the beach too much because it's been closed, and it's been a lot of the same routine every day. Fortunately, I've been able to practice still. I've been playing with a couple guys almost every day, which helps keep me sane. But yeah, I mean, it was just a lot of finishing up school, kind of finding things to do, finding some new things to do, and then just playing in the morning, and then yeah.
Yeah, so similar to Tristan, I'm from Connecticut, but I'm also in Florida. I'm in Jupiter, Florida. My parents also have a small place down here. So I kind of did the same as T and kind of ran to the heat. Figured I couldn't get much done in Connecticut when it was, I think it was snowing like almost about a week ago. So can't do much there. But yeah, pretty much the past couple months just been finishing up school. Luckily, I've been able to play as well as Tristan. There was for the first month or so, I'd say like I was pretty much training like I normally would at Notre Dame, and then there was like a 3-week period because Florida's a little bit behind where they started closing everything down, and basically all like the public courts were closed, and I couldn't hit for 2 to 3 weeks. So it was kind of brutal. Those 3 weeks kind of going insane, just focusing on school, and it was pretty much the same thing every day. Wake up, just do school and watch Netflix, I guess. But luckily the past month I've been able to get back to the normal routine. So it's been nice.
Just hearing you guys talk about it, it seems like the thing that affected you most was your routine. I've talked to a lot of different athletes, and like, for instance, I talked to swimming and diving the other day. They were kind of grateful they weren't waking up at 5 a.m. going to the pool, and that their routine was a little bit different. But I know like the golfers, and they kind of said the same thing you guys did. I think because it's a sport that's a little bit easier to get out there and play because you are so individualized. It seems like the routine took a hit. So when you first, like you said, Richard, just asking you, like when you had those couple weeks when you couldn't play and like tennis was literally, kind of taken away from you, what did you do to kind of cope with that in those first few weeks when you weren't able to play?
Yeah, so like I said, obviously, like definitely the focus shifted towards school, but I started running like a lot. And ultimately, it actually wasn't the best thing for me. My knees like started to hurt a little bit after a couple weeks of that. But yeah, no, I just try to do any kind of workout possible. I reached out to our strength trainer, trying to find just like anything body weight, because I don't have access to weights either. So it's just been it's definitely been different trying to do like those little things every day. Those little things that it builds up when you do them every single day. So just try to find stuff like that. So yeah, mostly a lot of running and trying to change up, like whether it's long distance or intervals, more sprints. That's kind of how I got through it. But besides that, yeah, I really couldn't do much. It was just, like I said, wake up, school, run, back to school with that, and then, just watch some TV. So
I was the same way. I tried to run for like a week and my body was falling apart. So
yeah,
I had to move to the bike.
Yeah, I don't know how our track guys do it, but yeah, I just it's not me.
Tristan, did you have to get creative with the workouts? I mean, you said the same thing, that there was maybe a little period there where you couldn't hit as much, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first week I was kind of lazy. I was like, all right, like I was just kind of hanging out and doing a whole lot of nothing. And then I was like, all right, we gotta get it into gear here. So I tried to go to a local football field and got kicked off there. So I was like, all right, I guess I gotta do body weight workouts in the middle of my living room. So I was using the rug as a little mat, and it's weird to get started because, I mean, I'm used to working out in Notre Dame facilities, which are, immaculate, and you're surrounded by your teammates and they're firing you up, and you got, a perfect program. Your coach is telling you what to do every minute. So we're spoiled in that way. But it was nice to kind of, not nice, but I needed to motivate myself and get started on a little bit of a program. And when, starting is a little tough, but finishing, when I finish the workout and get into it, I feel so much better, because there's too much time in the day to go without working out and getting a sweat in, because then your mentality definitely just suffers. You feel like lazy, and so yeah, I definitely had to add that in. I tried to add some new things in. I've been doing a lot of yoga and stretching, because I feel like that's super important for me, being a big guy. I'm like 6'5", so I've been trying to increase my flexibility. Sometimes it's tough to add that stuff in at school, so all of the things that I feel like I don't get enough time to do at school, I've been focusing on that in the time that we have, just an absurd amount of time.
So let's go back about, I think, more than 2 months now, when you guys found out that the season was going to be canceled. I've talked to a lot of different teams, and they've all found out different ways. The university was, of course, on spring break, but I think you guys were getting ready to play a match maybe. I think, was it against Georgia Tech? Is that right?
Yeah.
So let's just start with you, Richard, but I want to hear from both of you, just that day or 48 hours when you kind of learned the season was going to be canceled and you guys weren't going to play anymore this year. How did you find out, and just what was that experience like?
Yeah, so I mean, I think those like 48 hours in total were like some of the most, we had like some of the most breaking news of, record breaking news is, I guess, if you want to say it like that. But I mean, listen, it was tough. I clearly remember we were in the car. It was, I think it was me. I think T-Mac was there. It was Guillermo maybe, and one other guy. And we were with our assistant coach, Greg, and, all the news was coming out. I remember talking to the day before with one of my buddies who goes to an Ivy League, and like everything was canceled. I was like, oh my God, like that's insane. Like, and stuff like, nothing, no big news about us yet. And it was, and then our assistant coach got the email notification that, everything was canceled. And at the end of the day, we were just all sitting there and we were just like kind of speechless. So it was definitely tough news, because it's like basically like, all right, what are we doing now? And it's like, well, our assistant coach Greg was like, yeah, basically we're gonna call the travel agent. And we're gonna figure out, when you're getting home. And I think all of us were on flights either back to South Bend to get some of our stuff, or back directly home that night. So, it was tough as a team for sure, because we were definitely doing we were trying our best. We didn't have a great first half of the season, and we thought as a team, after meeting in Hilton Head, where we were spring breaking, we really thought we were going to turn the corner, and everyone was kind of on the same page at that point. And it was tough that we weren't able to finish it off, because we had a huge match against Georgia Tech the next day. We were fired up about that. It might have been a night match too. I don't know. So that would have been fun, but yeah. So it was just definitely tough news. Obviously we felt extremely badly for the seniors. I mean, what are you supposed to do in that situation? That's just really, really tough. But yeah, overall, really tough scenario. It's kind of, you're with your guys like 24/7, especially on spring break, and then all of a sudden you're not seeing them for 3-4 months. It's pretty tough. But I think we as a team, we kind of got through it, and we were able to hold like weekly meetings over Zoom every Sunday, which was super cool to be able to see the guys and talk to them. But yeah, no, overall, super tough news.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it was. I just remember before it was the news broke, it was I was thinking in my head like, there's no way that this, like, I was like, okay, we're gonna play Georgia Tech tomorrow. There's no way. So I mean, as Satch, our coach, was telling us, prepare like we're playing tomorrow, because there's a good chance that we are. So we were in Hilton Head, like Rich said, and we left the hotel in the morning to drive to Atlanta. It was about 4.5 hour drive. And when we left in the morning, we thought we were going to play Georgia Tech. And, looking at Twitter and seeing all the news break, by the time that we got to Atlanta in 4 hours, our season was canceled. So it was crazy to see all of the news break, in the car, and just the domino effect. It was like one conferences, it started with the Ivies, and then one conference, the next conference cancels this sport, that sport, and then it's just like, all right, NCAA, everything's canceled. And looking back, it makes sense. The country's on lockdown, but at the time, it was like, this is so overblown. Like, this is so unfair. I was thinking that. I was like, this is so overblown. This is unnecessary. But it was, disbelief. I didn't know how to think. I was just like looking around, kind of wondering how to react. I didn't know what to say to the seniors. I didn't know what to say to the freshmen. It was weird, really weird feeling. When we got to the hotel in Atlanta, it was like, all right, we have to send you guys home. So we kind of tried to hang out for a little bit more while we could, and the seniors kind of gave some speeches. It was very sad, but that's how it went down.
It's I can only imagine it was a very interesting couple of days. It's funny too, like you said, Tristan, the perspective has shifted so much since those 2 months, because like you said, you had to prepare for a match and then to have it canceled the next day. I think everybody was in disbelief a little bit. I want to ask you guys about tennis, because I asked this to the golfers I talked to. Was there any part of you, as everything was getting canceled, that thought, okay, tennis might be able to be spared here, or they might find a way to let tennis is one of the few sports, I think, where you can play on opposite sides of the net. I guess you're sharing a ball, but they could probably find a way. It's maybe two people in one case, in some cases. Did you guys ever think, as you were going through these emotions, like you were saying, Tristan, you're kind of in disbelief a little bit, like, hey, they might cancel, basketball and baseball and softball, but tennis has a shot here. Did you go through that thought process along the way?
So the first thing that we saw, Rich, I guess, was the NCAA, the ACC or NCAA basketball tournament was canceled. Yep. So my first thought was, okay, that's canceled not because of like the players, but just the audience, the fans.
Right.
And we don't get as many fans as that, obviously. So I was like, okay, maybe they'll, for just smaller dual matches in, non-revenue sports where there's not as many fans, it'll be fine. So yes, not necessarily for the reason of just how you're kind of on the opposite side, but just because we're not in a fan-packed arena. I think that I did think that originally that maybe we would get spared, even though one of the biggest events of the spring was canceled.
You guys talked about the conversations with the seniors being difficult, and then the freshmen, I imagine. I mean, what a freshman year. It's got to be a wild way to be introduced to college athletics. Richard, I think you mentioned doing like Sunday Zoom calls. I just want to know whether it's those or if there's other stuff. What have you guys done as a team when you haven't been able to be together the last 2 months when you normally would have been, to kind of keep that bond and stay united when you can't be in the same place together?
Yeah, so definitely, one thing that we did as a team every week was the Sunday, weekly Zoom calls. Pretty much everyone on the team, plus all the coaches, our strength trainer, our physio, all were on the call. And then it was super cool because, the coaches were able to get a guest speaker pretty much every week. So we were able to listen in on some really smart people. It was, definitely inspirational, motivational in a time where we're not getting any of that. It was, but besides the weekly Zoom calls and listening in on all the guest speakers, I'd say, just doing our best to stay in touch with everyone. I mean, we have tons of group chats and messages and all that stuff. So we, I think we still talk with each other on a daily basis, whether that's through Snapchat or, text message, whatever. But, also like individually, like, reaching out to people. I think that's super important. Obviously, like you said, it was super interesting first year for the freshmen, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, you still got to make them feel welcome. Like it obviously wasn't a full year. So they didn't get their, feet under them completely, but, just reaching out, seeing how they're doing, what they're up to, whether you had something in common or whatever, just like talking about that, like whether it's music, TV series, whatever. So definitely reaching out to them and, trying to stay in those contacts as possible, just to, stay fresh with them and, understand what their scenario is and, try and make sure that they're also motivated for when we come back, hopefully in the fall, please. But, yeah, just, doing the little things because those things add up, in the end. So.
I want to ask you guys about the adjustment to school. You mentioned, Richard, you actually maybe had more time. I think actually in talking to a lot of student athletes, they've all said they have had more time to focus on school in this digital environment. But what has it been like to go to class kind of like we are right now on a Zoom call or have to study remotely by yourself? I'll start with Tristan on this, and then I want to hear from you, Richard, too. But just what have maybe some of the challenges been? Have there been surprising benefits to it? Just what have you learned about going to school remotely the last couple months as a student?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a unique perspective compared to Rich because this isn't my first time in online school. I actually did a few years in high school because being from Philly, it was, they have a good school system there and there's not too many places to train. Tennis isn't a very big sport in Philadelphia. There's not many players or coaches or just kind of facilities. So it was very, very hard for me to go to school and then find somewhere to train after, and then also have the time to play tournaments, on the weekends or even during the week. Some of these tournaments were. So yeah, I made the decision to do online school, so I've been there before. I was kind of used to it. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to motivate yourself to do school when, you're waking up and you're still in your PJs and, you got to kind of get the crust out of your eyes and look at a computer screen from your living room, which is, it's just your spaces are all off. In a space that you're normally supposed to be hanging out and, doing nothing, just hanging out with your family, you've got to be doing school. So it's weird. It's definitely just a weird experience. But I would say the main kind of thing that I learned was that I just have to create good habits. Just kind of set times when I know that I need to study, which is generally in the morning. If I'm doing nothing all day or watching Netflix or something before I study, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to end up doing it. So if I get it all done in the morning and then reward myself with leisure after, that I found to be a lot better. But yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of time. We're used to at school having every hour, every minute of the day structured and having almost no time and having to sacrifice sleep in a lot of scenarios, a lot of days. Now we have all the time in the world and we can kind of choose when to, play tennis, when to do school. So if you don't add that structure, and sit down when you need to and get your work done, the work can pile on.
Yeah, totally agree with T-Mac. It was just for me not doing homeschool in my high school career. It was just like really awkward. You're just like in class with like 50 other people and through a computer. It's just like, well, what are we doing right now? But I really think it like kind of there's something to be said about the in-class in-person teacher student experience that you just kind of miss out on and kind of facilitates like and helps out your learning experience at Notre Dame, especially with obviously they have all all the professors there are great. So it was definitely a super awkward transition for me. Similar to what T-Mac said, like I just like woke up and like I could just do school whenever I wanted to. I guess I could, during that period where I could have played tennis, I could have played tennis whenever I wanted to, whether that's, in the morning and afternoon. And, at school we had that structure. So definitely a different scenario for sure, to say the least. But I think, the weirdest thing for me was like in one of my classes, I could be like 2 to 3 weeks ahead because all the, lectures were recorded and just like uploaded onto, our Sakai or, our platform that we use. And I could be like 3 weeks ahead in that class. Yet I'm like, I get, on this day for this other class. So it was just like super weird. And some, I think 2 or 3 of my classes were, Zoom calls, and the other 2 were just uploaded lectures. It was like, all right, this is just like, can we just have something that's like all the same basically? So besides that, I mean, overall, I found it to be actually a lot easier than when I was at school, just because like sometimes, like T said, we have to sacrifice sleep due to our structure of, practice, classes, workouts, all that stuff. So I found it a lot easier, just so much more time to get stuff done. And that definitely helped out, grade wise. So I guess I'm thankful for that. But besides that, I mean, yeah, just overall, just super awkward. And I'm really hoping we can get back in the fall and get back to our normal routine.
The season was cut short, and for everybody I've talked to, they didn't get to finish their season. But I want to ask you guys maybe about a moment or two you remember from this season that you'll think fondly back to down the road. You guys still played, I think it was 13 matches. I think you guys were 6-7, like you said. And you said you had that meeting where you felt like you had things going in the right direction. But just, you guys accomplished plenty throughout this year, even though it didn't finish. Just when you think back to the season, what are some of the memories you're going to take away, whether it's on the court or just with the team, that will stick with you going forward?
So yeah, I'll start. Honestly, the first thing that I think of is the disappointment and just how gutting it was in some of the losses that we had, because we lost a couple, more than a couple, 4-3s, Virginia, Michigan, Indiana, and each of those losses, it was just this disappointment that I felt, and I know that Richie and everybody else felt, was just monumentous, and it's very motivating, and that's that feeling honestly has really motivated me in my time in quarantine. It's because I still feel that I never want to lose to them again. I never want to feel that again. So even now it's helping me to work, because I know that regardless of when it is, could be 2 years from now, I don't care. Like when I get the chance to play Michigan, Virginia, Indiana again, I don't want to lose that 4-3, because there was a couple of matches where we just couldn't get that last point, and in Indiana and Virginia specifically, I lost my singles matches, so those ones hurt a little bit more. And then Michigan, who's been a rival for us, and they've gotten the better of us the last few times, even though it's been extremely close, was extremely gutting. They were 3 in the country at the time. We played them at home, and we lost the doubles point. We just played incredible, and we lost a really, really, really close match at the end. That was just a heartbreak. So, but like I said, I mean, those feelings are terrible. But I had a friend, an alumni in the team, Alex Lawson, tell me after we lost to Indiana, because I was the last match on. So he texted me. He said it's the second best feeling in tennis, behind winning, of course, because it does that. It gives you that drive to just never want to lose again. Always just get back right back on the horse and get back to training. So those are the memories, I guess, that resonate most with me from this season.
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement with T. I think two of the memories that kind of stuck with me from the season were, unfortunately, negative ones, but you got to turn those into positives, like T said. For me, it was that Michigan match, because it was we were struggling a little bit, and we knew we could compete with them, and we wanted to prove that to the rest of the country and all the other teams that we're trying to fight with, rather, for the top 20, top 15 spot. And to be able to play Michigan at home, and they're 3 in the country, and to be in that scenario where we're like literally points away from winning, it sucked. You know, and the doubles point in a dual match is so big, and to lose that doubles point, it's like it hurts a little bit, because you have that doubt in the back of your mind, like how are we going to come back from this? But to be able to put ourselves in that situation said a lot about us. And I think, for me and T-Mac, that was one of my best memories on court with T in our 3 years. We were just absolutely going at it against these Michigan guys, and we were dominating them, and it was sick. It was so much fun. And T had a huge win, I had a huge win, and we were fired up, and we're like, let's go win this thing. And to have that be taken away from you, it really does suck. But so that was one. And then I think my second would be, for me personally, was Virginia. We won the doubles point there, so definitely looking good. And in singles, I just got absolutely killed. And it was I was off the court in maybe 45, 50 minutes, and I just felt in that moment just like helpless. And it, to be playing, in the number one spot, and to be leading the charge that way, and to be done in 45 minutes, like there's no worse feeling than that. And you just feel as if you've let your teammates down, you've let the coaches down, you've let everyone down. And so that was definitely a tough scenario for me, because then I knew immediately, like, listen, we still have like 2 hours left of this match. I got to like get my teammates going, but at the same time, like, I'm in the absolute dump. So it's just like, it's it's a very, very weird feeling, but it's also, who cares if I lost, or whoever lost. Like, if we get this team win, that's huge, that's sick. So those were two of mine. And looking back on the season, and overall, it's like I said, it was obviously tough as from a team perspective, and we wish we could have done a little bit better. But thankfully, hopefully, at least T and I can fire up an extra year with the NCAA giving us an extra year of eligibility. So hopefully we got 2 more left in the tank.
I want to ask you guys just a couple more questions about Notre Dame. You guys obviously chose to play tennis at Notre Dame for a reason. During the last couple of months, when I've talked to different athletes, they've mentioned a variety of people that have been really helpful over the last 2 months as they've adjusted, whether it's life at home or schooling, or like you even said, the different people that are on those Zoom calls. Is there someone that comes to mind, whether it's a coach, player, support staff, professor, that's been maybe just really helpful over the course of the last 2 months within the Notre Dame community during, this unprecedented, unique situation we're in? I'll start with you, Tristan, but is there someone that comes to mind that's just been a real help throughout the last couple of months from Notre Dame?
It's hard to choose one, because I'm sure that, you hear it a lot. The Notre Dame kind of connection and family is just, it's so unique and it's indescribable. The feeling that you get on campus, and just the feeling of family. But just kind of talking, and this time has been good to kind of just reach out and talk to people that maybe you wouldn't normally talk to like when you're at home, because it's kind of normalized that, just kind of reaching in and checking in with people. And Danny Rail, who was graduated 2 years ago from the team, or wait, no, it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. He's I've talked with him a couple times, and he's been he's always kind of supported me and just seeing how I was doing, and he was a huge inspiration to me when he was on the team. So he's been awesome to connect with. And then another athlete, Kristen Bayer, who's I take a lot of inspiration from as well. I've been lucky enough to serve with her as a COO and the SAC committee, and she's just an incredible person. She's always checking in with me and providing me with inspiration and motivation. And so yeah, those I would say those two people remind me most of the Notre Dame family. They eat, sleep, and breathe Notre Dame, and they're the epitome of the Notre Dame character. Whenever I talk to them, it's like I feel that Notre Dame love. So yeah.
I got to say real quick, you're the third person on a different team to mention Kristen Bear, not in this podcast, but volleyball loves her. She played a little bit with the basketball team this year and actually
Yeah.
scored. And
Yeah.
they say the same thing. And now we have men's tennis saying that Kristen Bear is the
She's
greatest person on earth.
she's incredible. She's really incredible. I'm so lucky to know her because, I mean, she's an infinitely better person than I am in all facets of life.
She's better than the three of us combined. Yeah.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Because if I'm able to take at least 3% of what she does on a daily basis and try to better myself from looking at it, I'm lucky. So yeah, she's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, just I guess, and the note there, like I also know Kristen a little bit, not nearly as well as Tristan. She, even from like the 2 minutes I've spent with her in the past like 3 months, when we were back at school, no, she's a super awesome person and definitely an inspiration. So, and I'm actually, I was told to actually get in contact with her. This is funny. It's ironic. I was actually told to get in contact with her because I'm looking to do the MBA program for the 5th year, and she already went through it, so I kind of get her perspective on what it's truly like, see what that whole scenario is. But yeah, going back to your question, I think one thing that T-Mac hit on was that the Notre Dame family, and like I think we were on a Zoom call. T and I were with like 15 other guys who used to play Notre Dame men's tennis. And it was just awesome to like talk to them, catch up, old teammates, people we weren't even teammates with that we just, instantly connected with just because it is that family. So it's been cool to, get in contact with those kinds of guys. A great example would be Brendan Kempen. He was our senior captain our freshman year. Absolute inspiration. Definitely, paved the way for me and T. I know T was lucky enough to play doubles with him his whole freshman year. Still jealous about that, but yeah, no, so that's a great example right there. Just talking to him, and he's out in I think California right now, and that's where he works. So it's you don't get the opportunity to talk to him much because he's obviously busy. We're super busy. So to be able to kind of take a step back, talk with those guys, relive some of the memories, it's awesome. But also, I think there's something to be said about the coaches. I'm sure they're texting everybody, on a weekly basis. And, personally, I've been able to receive a lot of texts from our coaches, and it's been kind of an inspiration, motivational factor because it's like, like we've talked about a lot, this is not a time where everyone's motivated and inspired to keep working hard and trying to get better. But, just to have the coaches checking in with you and, personal life, tennis, whatever it may be, that's really important. I think our coaching staff does like a unbelievable job with that. And that's super important to the growth of you as a person and as a player. So
the last question I have, I started asking it yesterday. I think it was yesterday. The days all blend together. It's swimming and diving, whenever we talked.
Yeah.
And it's about what you are most excited to do when you get back to campus. We don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. I give my example because I work on campus of going to the North Dining Hall with some coworkers.
That's North Dining Hall.
North over South, right? That's my favorite spot to be. So I'm wondering, as you guys think about whenever we get back, here's the first thing I'm going to do, or this is the thing I'm most looking forward to being able to do, whatever that may be. Tristan, I'll start with you again, but just when you think about finally getting back, whenever that is, what's the thing or the place you can't wait to be?
I would say that the thing that I miss most about Notre Dame is the kind of the end of day in classes at around 3 or whatever it is 2, and then the transport to the EC, which is our tennis facility on the east side of campus. That's always a special one. Because I'm just looking forward to it all day to get there, and then just being at the EC for 5 hours for the rest of my day, which is happens 6 days a week generally. So yeah, I miss that the most. Just probably the EC. I mean, I just love being there. I love just hanging out, talking with the coaches, talking with my teammates, even outside of practice. It's I don't know. I just miss the X so much. It's feels like home to me after 3 years. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places on campus. I mean, I miss I was living in O'Neill. I don't miss being cramped in a dorm room, but I miss all my friends and interacting with them, messing around, playing Super Smash Bros in the dorm. I will definitely look forward to looking at Touchdown Jesus again. On the way back from practice at night, when I'm walking by, I always admire Touchdown Jesus as I'm walking by, and that's kind of my moment to reflect on the day. So that's kind of holds a special place in my heart. But yeah, I mean, there's just the campus as a whole. It's not necessarily one place, but the feeling that you get when you're on campus, it just feels like home. So.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's going to be that first practice when we're back. I mean, that's going to be just all the energy that we had and motivation from the end of the season. Well, I guess like the end of the season in quotations to throughout this entire summer and all that, like building up. And that first practice is going to be so much fun. Even that first week, just being back out there, it's going to be relieving. It's going to be just great to be back with the guys, be back with the coaches. I know the coaches they probably can tell you right now that they're already fired up for that too. And so I definitely think that first practice back is going to be so much fun. And just also I'm missing like the overall atmosphere at Notre Dame. That was definitely one of the main reasons I chose to go to Notre Dame. I thought like the atmosphere is just so live, and to be a part of that every day is so much fun. And I just can't wait to get back on campus and be able to not only be a part of that, but be a part of it with the team. So.
Well, guys, I know we're looking forward to having you and a lot of other athletes back on campus, and hopefully all the students sooner rather than later. But I appreciate you taking some time today to talk to me. I know it was a crazy end of the season, but it sounds like you guys are doing well. So thanks for doing this.
Thank you,
Tony.
You have been listening to an official Notre Dame Athletics podcast presented by Fighting Irish Media.